All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome from all across the world. We have people joining today's 10th season of New Patient Accelerator program. It is really great to be here. Thank you for your trust in me and my team for enrolling in this program. We do not take that lightly. It is really, it's magnificent to be able to share with you so much information about marketing, how to create a system, but ultimately, how to build a better business and enjoy the thing in the process, because ultimately that's what we all want. All right, guys, what we're going to have to do is be very careful. I'm going to say this, don't take this sternly, but be very careful when you're coming on and pressing buttons, because it will be irritating as hell if people keep coming on and pressing mute and unmute. I don't want to have to stop it, but be very, very careful. I appreciate it's a few people's first time on this type of call, so we will be lenient before we kick you off. Not only joking, but just be very careful, because it throws me. I try to speak to you, and if you stuff's going on in the background, it really irritates everybody. So be very, very careful from the outset of pressing any buttons that look like a microphone, a mute button, an unmute button. You will get a chance to come on and talk and say hello, but you'll be able to press it at the appropriate time. So be very careful if you can, please, while you enter the chat. So welcome from beautiful Orlando. It's nice to see so many new faces. Type into the chat, let me know who we have, where you're from. So tell me who you are and where you're from. And we always love to kick off the class with this question: what's your origin story with me? How did you find out about me? Where did the roots lead back to? Is it podcast? Is it the book? How many of you have bought my book over the last year or so? Just tell me what your origin story with Paul is, for us to figure out where you're all coming from, so I know where you are. We've got James in from Sydney. We truly get global. I don't know if people believe me when I tell you we are global. We are literally all over the world on the podcast. We're all over the world on the Accelerator book sales, if you like, and the Accelerator program teaches people from all over the world. Obviously, predominantly US. There'll be 80% of the people on here from the US. But we will have people on from the UK, from Ireland, from Australia, Canada, New Zealand. Noel's from is Canada US? Is that considered US? Is that the 51st state? No, or am I just being a bit irritating to start with? Barbados, I think it was the podcast, but not sure. Gus from Las Vegas here. I bought the books. Good. What else? Dr. Arnan from a very small town in Montrose, VA. Just got our first stoplight. That's progress. That's progress if you've just got your first stoplight. Great to see you again, says Danny. We met in your New Jersey run at the bar. I remember it very well, Danny. Very, very well. Got interested from the podcast. Jimmy from Ipswich. Great part of the world. Used to go down there with the soccer teams. Wonderful part of the world. I don't know if you are a soccer fan of Ipswich, but very famous ex-Hartlepool United player where I'm from used to play for Ipswich, called Tommy Miller. He was a great player back in his day, 10, 12 years ago. Sanket, heard about your podcast a long time back, but recently I bought the book from Facebook, and that's See Facebook Ads Work. Amy, there's one for you. Amy, New Jersey, says Joseph. Met about 3 or 4 years ago, says Lava. There you go. The fortune's always in the follow-up. Ali says Destin in Florida. Podcasts. Noel says probably not. Mustafa, good to see you in North Carolina. James says, I started listening to your podcast the week that it started. You must have a British accent by now then at this point. You must have some Paulisms at this point if you've listened to that many podcasts, James. Have you got nothing better to do with your life than listen to all my podcasts for the last 3.5 years? James says Portland, Oregon. Jarrett, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina is in the house. Terry Cassidy from Colorado learned about you from a podcast. Tom in Scottsdale, Jared Carter's podcast, New Patient Accelerator book, bought the program. Anders Hurst, I'm from Seattle in Washington. I love that part of the world. I've been watching the documentary on Bill Gates recently. Obviously, you must live, I think, over there in that part of the world. He's certainly looks beautiful where his offices and homes are in that part of the world. Hey, Michael from Clearwater talked with you at SSPT Live. Good. Clearwater's a fab place. I'll be over there in a couple of weeks. No doubt. We like to drive across. on a weekend. Junior Reunion, Stuart, Florida. Facebook, watched you move over to the States and loving every second of it as well. Costa Mesa, nice part of the world, been up there. Paula from Boston, I love Boston, was up there last week or 10 days ago. James from Sydney, I've got a Sydney story for you. I've been all over Australia. I'm a huge cricket fan. The last time I was in Australia, we won the Ashes. It will not mean anything to anybody except the Brits and the Aussies. Who else? Maybe it's the Barbadians as well. That might mean something to the Barbadians. But my claim to fame for Sydney is I was in the stand the last time that England won the Ashes on Australian soil. I saw Mitchell Johnson get a duck for a hat-trick ball that sent 25,000 Brits hysterical, me included. So there you go. That's my Sydney story. Love Australia. Planning on being back there as quickly as possible, but not until the England cricket team shapes up because we're not very good right now. So good to see everybody. Let's get this going. I'll bring up my slides. Thank you for everybody who's just coming on and the nice comments in the chat. And it is good to see every time we fill this up now, every time without fail, we fill this class up. One of the things to point out that we're doing differently, and I'm going to bring my slides up in a moment, that these days with our programs, we limited the number of people. So we used to do this class with like 50, 60, 70 people sometimes. We just felt it got too big. So we genuinely limited the class with a view of giving you access to some coaching in between. So Barry and Lisa, I haven't seen Lisa yet, but I think Barry's on the call. Lisa might be, oh, there she is. Barry and Lisa are your best friends throughout this course for the next 6 or 7 weeks. So if Lisa and Barry could type into the chat their emails, please. Those are the people that are going to help you implement this stuff in between our calls together like this. You can get on a call with them every week, however long you need, whatever you need to help you do this. There will be no excuses as in you were overwhelmed or you just got lost or it was too fast or whatever else. The team are there to help you. Please don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It baffles me why people wouldn't book calls with those two in between our live calls every week. They'll help you make sense of things. I think for a lot of people, it's understanding truly what coaching is about and what mentorship really is. It's just helping you sometimes at the real simple level, perhaps the most important level, of organizing your thoughts. And I'll say this again, if any of you, I know I've got podcast listeners on here, you've read my books. I'm a big thinker, right? I'm a strategic thinker. I don't get sucked into tactical, crappy level. I very rarely do or say anything that anybody else in the world is doing, quite simply because I don't see enough proof of success from the majority of the world. So I am very different and I think very different. I've conditioned myself not to get sucked into things. And one of the things that I will encourage you to really try and find the value in is in speaking to Barry and Lisa for this very simple thing: organizing your thoughts. Write it down and stare at it, what it means. You will not hear it on anybody else's podcast. You will not hear anybody else kicking off a $3,000 program, which I deeply, deeply appreciate your investment in it. You will not hear many people start off like this. It will always run to tactics. It will always move to let's take some action. I'm going to start by encouraging you to think that ultimately what will separate you from the majority of the world who fail in business is your ability to organize thoughts. Information is out there. Information is everywhere. What we really need to do is separate what information you need and then help you organize your thoughts around it so that you can prioritize your actions around those thoughts. Good coaching that you will get from Lisa and Barry and anybody in my office is around us helping you prioritize what ought to be done next. Seeing through the overwhelm, seeing through all of the, I'm not quite sure what this is, helping you understand that's all that is happening to you when you are overwhelmed and you are receiving new information for the first time. Your brain doesn't like new things. It's a fact. It does not like too many new things at once. That's the pain that you get. What we'll help you do is prioritize which new things are important to you. And secondly, this is, if you ever suffer from overwhelm, you will love this. Overwhelm is quite simply that you have let the project get too big. That's it. Nothing else. Overwhelm. And don't take this the wrong way when I say this, and I mean it very respectfully. If you are overwhelmed, it is your fault. Here's why. Because you have let the project get too big. Anytime you are overwhelmed in your life, in business, make the target smaller. That's it. There's nothing else to be done. The coaches are there to remind you, i.e., organize your thoughts to make the target smaller. The target may be as small as send an email. You don't need to write 30, and you don't need to build some epic, gigantic follow-up system that you will see over the next 6 or 7 weeks. Progress is in writing one email. Progress is just opening up the damn Facebook account. Progress is making a call to the local newspaper. Progress is even considering what might be on your postcard and writing it down on a pen or with a pen and on a piece of paper. That's progress. It's all we do. It's all it is. Small steps all the way through this program. So Barry and Lisa are your best friends. Pick one of them. I have a favorite, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. It's like kids. We all have favorites. You just can't say which one it is. I've got 3 kids. Of course, I have a favorite between the 3. I just wouldn't admit to it publicly. Simon says Simon. Simon's my favorite coach. Who's your? That would be a great response, wouldn't it? So who's your favorite out of Barry and Lisa? Simon. No, look, they're both good. Just one's better than the other. So choose wisely. Choose wisely as you pick your as you pick your coach. And if you keep hearing me laugh all the way through these programs, it's because I do like to entertain myself. You have to laugh. If you can't laugh, what's the point in doing it? Lisa says you should already have an email from one of us. So we've done the work of picking for you already. There you go. They've already selected. So if you are unlucky enough to get one of them, well, just let me know if you're not happy and we'll swap you out. That one joke. They're both going to be great. You're going to love them. They're there to help you. And like I said, just help you see sense of all of this stuff and, understand how many of you, I love doing this at the first, hands up, be truthful. How many of you have absolutely no fucking clue what you've just signed up for? How many of you saw this thing and thought, this is a bloody good idea? I'll give this British guy $3,000 for this fucking thing called marketing, and I have absolutely no clue what I've just got into. The reality is probably, yeah, there you go. Don't hope. All right, Jimmy, easy. You're only supposed to play along. You're not supposed to emphasize it that much. This is common. People sign up. We are good at marketing, but we're also very good at delivering on the product. So you're going to have a good time with us. We're here to help. We've got years and years of experience of not only stuff that I've done for myself, but also obviously now working with hundreds of businesses. I relocated to the US primarily because I was working with so many businesses here and to be able to extend a global reach. So we have proven track records in Australia, in Canada, in the US, in the UK. Ireland, we've got clients in Denmark, we've got clients in Brunei, where else? Spain, we've got clients in Spain, so we're all over. And this stuff is universal because of the way I teach it. I teach you principles that are timeless. I very rarely get sucked into Instagram hashtags and codes and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be principle based and it will last forever. It's timeless. Sure, the nuances might change, but that's not going to be what will get in the way of you building a very solid marketing system. So thank you again for your trust and your commitment in us, and we will endeavor to repay that, and hopefully within a week or 2 you start to have a good time instead of feeling like, what the hell is this and what have I done and who is this guy? The usual stuff that people think through when they first sign up for these types of programs. I've done it myself many times. So let me get going. I'll put my slides on and we'll run through a couple of bits of housekeeping. Share my screen. Share slideshow, player from start. Right, okay, who's my eyes and ears? Who can I see? Amy, can you see my screen? Can you see me? And can you still hear me? All right, good. So welcome to the New Patient Accelerator program. We're going to be with each other for the next 6 or 7 weeks, hopefully. We're going to have longer to work with you after that. This is one of the first things that we can do to help you. We've got a lot more things going on. This is like the entry point, if you like, for a lot of our clients to Planet Paul, to the evolution of you as a business owner, the evolution of your company. Most people need to start with marketing and just get that steady supply of leads and confidently answering the phone, raising your rates. It's almost impossible to grow a business if you don't have a predictable supply of leads. And this is the caveat, it's the right price. The price conversation is going to be a brutal one at the end of this module for all of you. We most likely need to nudge those prices up because that's where your breathing space in business comes from. The reason I leave the price conversation until the end rather than kind of ramming it down your throat early on is you will see over a period of 6 or 7 weeks, if you do everything that we teach, you will be positioned very differently in the marketplace than you are now. That is ultimately what people buy. They're buying a perception always and forever, and you must understand that. In business, they buy a perception. The clinical skills are almost irrelevant at first. They have to be, because they hand over money before they get to experience it. That is a perception. You buy perceptions in everything in life, and perceptions are altered through marketing. So something to factor in. We will build your authority, we'll build your status, we'll build your expert, almost celebrity-like status, and we'll make sure that you are a very attractive, almost in a league of one PT in relation to any other option that your patients or customers have got. So a little housekeeping to start with. There's your dates: 10th, 18th, 24th, and 29th of October, and the 5th and 12th. So we're going to go fast. We're going to go fast, and we're going to push this on. But you've got your coaches. Those will be the next 6 dates for you. Every week we start. There may be different days there. Some are Thursday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. But we start at 12 o'clock every single week. It's we mixed it up on purpose because we often ran into issues of people saying every Tuesday they have things on, or every Friday. So just by doing it on different dates, it just stopped any big clash, if you like, with people having certain things that they were restricted to or committed to. You will get a replay within 24 hours. Don't feel under pressure to attend every single call. It is great, and it is nice if you can, but don't feel under pressure if you can't. You will get a replay within 24 hours. That's why we brought in the coaches, Barry and Lisa. You could figuratively watch the replay the next day and do your call with Lisa the day after. And things will sway, things will move for you. I'll start every class with a review of the last class and give you half an hour to answer any questions that you might have from your module the week before. Every week, we build upon each module. You'll see me always going back to it with relation to why I taught what I taught last week, and you'll see this whole thing build up and up. So there's your coaches: Lisa at polgoff.com, Barry at polgoff.com, for you to talk to your coaches. Now, here's where some people get confused. You've also been given access to our Cash Club calls, now mastermind calls. So Cash Club is our entry-level monthly coaching program where we give you 1 call a month with me, and it's live. It's 60 minutes to answer any questions. You also get a marketing newsletter, 32 pages every single month, and you get a CD of the month as well. That's our Cash Club program that you're going to be part of for the next couple of weeks. And it's totally up to you at the end whether or not you want to stay, but it's free for you, for the next 2 months. So make the most of it. Come on and enjoy the calls with an open mind. There's about 200 members around the world in Cash Club, so you'll join that, and there's different questions. It's great. Very good for if you're stuck and you just want something to help you, or just inspiration, or just something to keep you focused. Cash Club is great. I love the newsletter that comes out every single month as well. You're also part of the mastermind calls. There is now 129, I think, when I looked this morning, members from around the world in that program. Next level, a lot more expensive. Conversations in mastermind are usually about hiring, finances, the thing that we call cockpit, which is operational efficiency. So that's looking at your numbers in your business. We talk about leadership, a lot of firing, a lot of hiring. It's kind of like that next level stuff in business. So if you are just wanting more marketing, be sure to join the Cash Club calls. But if you feel as though you're at that next level in business already, you've got staff, you've wanting to start talking about numbers and hiring and recruitment and leadership and scaling your company, you'll love the mastermind calls that happen every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. And this is an overwhelm and drama-free zone. Paul has one rule in his life. no moaning. Like, that's it. I'm a very simple guy, and the only rule that I live by, no moaning. That's it. There's always a way. There's always a solution. We just haven't asked the question. So no drama. There's no overwhelm. We don't need anything like that. You will not get all of this done inside 7 weeks, and that's completely fine. The thing to clear up is that I teach it in 7 weeks. It doesn't mean that you have to get it done inside 7 weeks. For most of you, and as I pointed out to many people, if you actually look back at the information page where you enrolled in this class, at the very, very top, it does say 12 months. Expect this to take 12 months in a roundabout way. And that's a fair assumption. That's not to say you're not going to feel a benefit. For most of you, you're going to start changing your conversations with patients within 2 to 3 weeks. You will change the way you answer the phone. You'll change the way you contact patients. You'll change the way you're running any ads that you're currently running right now. And you will already see the effect without putting in play the actual system that we're going to build for you. So please, no overwhelm. It's banned. It's barred. All we're going to do is make the target short, and we'll get small things done, but lots of them every single week. And this is a place to have a lot of fun. We're very serious about business, but we do have a lot of fun in the process of building. It'll need about 2 or 3 hours of your time. I would ask you to kind of factor in whether that's Sunday morning or one night a week, or you just book out some hours through the week. If you commit 2 to 3 hours a week for the next 12 months, you will have a wonderful marketing system in play that's automated by the end of it. We get a lot of questions about Infusionsoft. You don't have to use it. People obviously know, and it's all through my books, and I'm the biggest fan ever of Infusionsoft. You don't have to use it to clear this up from the get-go. You will be able to get going with things like Aweber or MailChimp or whatever you currently use. You will need some automation software. That's not for doubt. Infusionsoft for me is without doubt for small businesses the best on the planet. Deliverability of emails that a lot of these other companies are having problems with. Infusionsoft is pretty sweet and powers all of my businesses. It's very cheap now. They've raised they've lowered the bar for you to start with Infusionsoft. If you want to demo and you want to know what it looks like, talk to Barry at Paul Goff about Infusionsoft. We can hook you up with some pretty good deals with them. So that's what we're going to kick off with. Let me just get my chat to make sure that I can see everybody. Hang on to your seats. It's going to be an amazing ride, says Dean. Yeah, what's interesting, by the way, is there are people on the call. You'll see more than 35 people on the call. And that's because A, sometimes there's business partners, and B, a lot of my mastermind members, they come back on the call. We have people who resit. We've got 9 people, I think, this time who resat, who chose to come on and just wanted to experience it live again with us, which I fully admire. You will always get lifetime access to it, but obviously when I teach it and you're part of the momentum and you're part of the focus and the calls, and that's what a lot of people miss at the other end when we stop the program. So you will see more people. A lot of them are people like Dean, who are mastermind members, and they've done this class now probably 5 or 6 times. There'll always be something else that you will hear. So listen back to these replays, and I promise you, even in 2, 3, 4 years, these trainings will be something that you can go back to and you will enjoy, and you'll always hear it. The information doesn't always need to change because more often than not, it's you that does and has changed as you've evolved. So everybody ready? Everybody good to go? Just give me a sign in the chat that you're good. You've got your pen and paper in hands. You are ready to take notes and start to build this marketing system. Terry says ready, good to go, good to go, good to go. Okay. So part 1, this is a 2-part module. So what I will do is teach part 1. It takes me about 35 to 40 minutes. Then I'll open up for Q&A. And you will have as long as you need. I'm here for as long as you want. Expect us to go to 2 hours-ish, 2.5 hours possibly today because of the introductions. But most classes are going to run 2 hours. But really, I stay for any Q&A that you've got. I break the teaching up into 2 parts so that I can answer questions for you. Now, I strongly encourage you to ask questions of me. All I need is 3 or 4 of you to ask some questions. Just be brave. Come on. There's no such thing as a bad question. And it allows me to put things into context for you and for everybody else listening. So it's very interactive. You can type into the chat and I'll answer things for you as I go, or I'll come back to them when I finish teaching. But I would love you, and I'm encouraging you to come on live and help me put this stuff into context. If it's just slides, it gets very boring, and I'm not sure whether or not the message is being received. So please don't be frightened. The more questions that you give me, the better this class will be. So part 1, perfect patients. Foundations ultimately is what we're talking about here. So you may have read some of this in the book, but I'm going to go deeper and I give you the actual workbooks and exercises to do this for yourself. You're going to get a lot of handouts given to you today in your membership site, things for you to work on at home, exercises to help you craft that marketing message, things for you to do with your staff if you've got a team, and something called an empathy map and a patient profiling template, which you'll love, and where we put the theory, if you like, into action, and for you to start to intertwine into your conversations with patients that deeper marketing message that really makes the difference. So before you can begin to attract any new patients, you've got to get clear on who your patient is. We don't want more new patients. It is not about just more new patients, right? That's not what this is about. There are many physical therapy businesses who are chasing more and more new patients, but they're attracting the wrong type of patient. Not that there's anything wrong with that patient, but if you're attracting the type of patient that doesn't value what you do, they're not going to pay for it. They need to go somewhere else than what you offer. And if you're just wanting more and more new patients, and we're not factoring in that reimbursements are dropping, or we're not charging the right price to that patient, then your business is not going to be profitable, because that's ultimately what we want. I say to many people, when I start my coaching calls with people that I work one-on-one with, they say, oh, I want more of this, or I want more patient. No, you don't. You want a profitable business so that you can live a terrific life. That's the difference. It isn't just about more new patients. It's about aggregating the number of patients that you need to build the business that you want so that you can live the life that you want. And everything with me starts there. It's always about the life first. It has to be. There are so many people who don't factor that in, and it just becomes all about more and more new patients, and they ultimately never end up with the business that they want, and therefore they never end up with the life that they want. You have to think about what you want first and then build the business accordingly. For some of you, you might need 50 new patients a month. Some of you might think, you know what? I'm good with 20 because I'm going to charge twice as much money because I'm going to target a specific pocket of people. Therefore, what I'm trying to point out is that there are many different ways that you and I can figure out who it is that you want to target and what your message would be so that you achieve the ultimate goal of the life and the business that you want. So by and large, the profit is in the relationship. All right. The profit is in the relationship that you will have with your potential patients. For proof, type into the chat, everybody, how long you have known me. How long have you been listening to me, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, watching the videos, and so on and so forth. Let's watch this. Read this and weep. Watch this. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yes. Yes. You seeing getting typed into there. Listened a year ago. Honed in 2 months ago. Please, with your own eyes, witness that. What I point out from the get-go with everybody that will ever listen to me, and I'll never stop. The reason that I do so well in business is not because I'm a clever guy, not because I'm the world's best marketer, not because of anything to do with the tactical level. It's because I understood. Somebody hammered me with a stick for longer than he should have to understand that the profit in business is in the relationship that you have with people. Marketing is about building relationships. Every time you listen to a podcast, I am marketing to you. Every time you watch a YouTube video, I'm marketing to you. Every time I bring out a book, I'm marketing to you. What I'm really doing is enhancing my relationship with you. We're getting closer to the point where this is the key word to understand. You feel confident in yourself about me. I already feel confident in me, right? I'm good. I feel very confident in my life. But that's not going to make me wealthy. That's not going to get me business success. What has to happen is you have to feel confident in you about me. Are you following? And this is profound, right? Listen to what I'm saying here from the point of view of your patients. you feel confident in you and your ability to help them, it means nothing. What must happen is that they feel confident in themselves about you. So everything is about relationships. Everything is about follow-up. Everything is about targeting a specific pocket of people, talking to them about their pain points, building a relationship with them over time, systematically. Evolution of podcast, evolution of shows, evolution of email systems, all of this has gone on in my life over a period of years for both of my businesses. We've ultimately followed the same strategic principle that it is absolutely about relationships. That's what I'm imploring you to think about as we build this system. That it's not about a phone call and a patient saying yes today. It's about somebody getting in touch and saying, I saw your information. I saw your video. I watched you on YouTube. I picked up on your social media. I would like some more information. And not just tossing them in the can the minute that they say no. They're not bad patients because they say no. They're not bad leads because they say no. They are normal people with the same doubts and skepticisms and fears as everybody on here who is saying 6 months, 3 years. And by the way, you do get the likes of Anders, 30 minutes. You do get that. But if this was built on people who found me in the last 1 day and wanted to buy this course, Anders would be on his own. As it stands, there are people on here from 9 months, 3 months, 1.5 years, 4 years, under a year, still a reasonable amount of time. I'm starting to help you see that the winners in business are the ones who see this big picture, who truly understand where their patients are. You will be allowed to believe that it's about money, that it's allowed to be about time. It possibly was about money for some of you 3, 6, 9, 12 months ago when I offered the Accelerator class last time, like back in January. But now it isn't. Or what is more likely to be true, the frustration and the pain still hasn't gone away. All of a sudden, Paul is a more attractive proposition because 9 months ago when I heard about this Accelerator class, I thought I could figure it out on my own. But now that he's offered it again and I still haven't figured it out on my own, maybe I need to do this. There's wonderful insights into how you build your business when you understand what you're doing yourself. It's all I've ever done. Just figured out how the typical guy or girl or whoever on the street buys. I include myself in everything that I'm about to say, and I will say over the next 6 or 7 weeks about how people buy and ultimately how we have to build marketing systems for relationships. You begin that relationship with marketing. So I'm beginning a relationship with all of you through books, through podcasts, through the use of Facebook ads to get you to listen to the podcast, through the use of Facebook ads, Impact Magazine ads to get you to buy my books. And then guess what goes to work? A follow-up system, a system that nurtures and enhances our relationship together. So marketing is simply about helping people make decisions and to take action more quickly. A lot of people, little understood, they just think, again, it's about new patients, not that granular. It's about helping them make decisions, which we can only do with information. So we do that, or they do that, related to their perception. Here's the keywords, and again, you've got to grasp this. It's enlightening, this course, as much as it is anything. When you start to understand how you buy as a consumer, you buy in relation to a perception of whether or not you think that you can solve your problem by buying through that company. So in our case, they'll buy from you related to their perception of whether or not they think that you can move them closer to the end desired outcome. That end desired outcome could be a less back pain, less knee pain, and so on and so forth. Most clinic marketing fails simply because the owner doesn't take the time to define their perfect patient. They really struggle. And some of you are going to do it, even when I give you all these exercises to work on this week. You're going to struggle because it's going to feel like you're going to have to say no to a few people when you start to get clear on your marketing. The minute that that starts to happen, you're making progress. The minute that you start to narrow down on the 1 or 2 people who you want to attract to your company, you are making progress with marketing. However many patients you have right now on your database, it is a mathematical fact that there is one of them who is the easiest to work with, pays the bill, comes back time and time and time again. My point has been from day one, why not just go and find more of them? Find out what the commonalities are between the person who is the easiest to work with. It could be a female in her 50s with back pain. It could be a guy in his 30s with shoulder pain if it's CrossFit, etc., etc. We figure out who that is, and we just look to multiply them. It's almost like patient multipliers. Or another reason that this fails is because of a lack of understanding the desires of who it is that they really want to work with. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. So you listen to me or you listen to the book and you read the book and you think, yeah, I get this concept of a perfect patient, right? So when I started to teach all of this stuff, the whole concept of a perfect patient was like, wow, I've never heard of this. Now people are like, I understand who my perfect patient is. And as we've evolved teaching this class, we've realized that a lot of people do think that they know who their perfect patient is, but they don't truly know who at the level of their desires. And therefore, they can't communicate with that person. The reason that my marketing does so well, whether it's this business or my physio business, is because I talk a lot about the internal angst that business owners live with. What did I kick off today with? Overwhelm. That's because the great majority of people at the internal level, their biggest challenge will be overwhelm. We know that. So we speak to you about it. I didn't start with you're going to make a load of money and you're going to get more new patients. I started with your the internal things first, that this is, it's fearful and I don't know what I've signed up for. Remember that conversation? I'm speaking to your internal issues there because I need to address them first before I even consider that we might start to talk about more money and more patients and so on and so forth. So understanding the desires, the internal, is what defines the success of your attraction system. A perfect patient or an avatar is made up of a character that represents your ideal patient. Everything that is great about profitable businesses happens because they know precisely who they want to target in their marketing. Now, okay, here's where Sanket's asking a great question there in the chat. Can you have two, is that two targeted population of perfect patients as in the number two, or two targeted as in it's too deep, too narrow? Well, the answer to either is yes or no, right? You can have two targeted populations. So you could go after a male with back pain and you could go after a female with pelvic floor issues. The thing you can't do is market to them both in the same ad. You can't have them both on the same page on a website because it'll put me off. It's like if I'm the guy and I see that you're talking about female health issues, it's like I ain't coming to this clinic. And if I'm the female and I see the guy's back pain stuff, it's like, oh shit, this might not be for me. So you have to be very careful about that. And it is possible to go too narrow, too quick. So I see a lot of people who go very niche into real obscure pelvic floor type problems, or even exclusively for CrossFit. That can be a problem in the early doors. That can be a problem for the reasons being that it costs a lot of money to find a niche audience when it comes to marketing. Something that isn't factored in. So the typical situation, I know we'll have 3 to 5 people on here who want to go very narrow, usually is what the case is. And I know I'll find this, that the people who want to do niche, i.e. pelvic floor, female health, or postnatal kind of, PT, CrossFit athletes, very, very niche. I'm fine. I'm all for that. But I also know historically what happens is that population, is those PTs won't charge the appropriate price. Their prices will be too low to be a niche-based business. If you want to be niche, you will have to charge higher prices because, and this is the bit to understand, it's going to cost you more money to find them. Following? It's going to cost you more money. The more narrow that you get, the more money it will cost for you to market to those people. So you can go too narrow and get too niche too early. I'm in favor of, if you're a new business, considering a more general population with a still strong marketing message, and you evolve your niche practice alongside of that until the point where the niche practice is flowing, or you're going to have to get very brave and probably whack $100 on your fee and allocate that to things like Facebook ads or magazines or wherever it'll be, because you're not going to be able to find them as easy as, for example, a 50-year-old with back pain. Roberto is patient with pain, way too broad, way too broad. It's also the external, which is what I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. We don't really market for the external. We do a little, but really somebody with pain, they've got deeper, dark fears. They've got things like worrying over whether or not they're going to have surgery, or whether or not they're going to have to rely upon pills, or whether or not this problem is ever going to go away. That's ultimately what we market to, and that's what we connect with patients with or through. So don't think that this patient profiling exercise that I'm going to give you is not needed. It is the most important part of the next 7 weeks. Without it, we can't write ads, we can't create emails, we can't do any of the things, we can't talk to people on the phone, we can't get conversions. Unless you deeply know what the internal driver is of these patients, we cannot expect to have success. So think about your perfect patient. What pain are they in? Not just physical, but emotional. What are they struggling with? What are they missing out on? How do they like to spend their free time? What are their interests, their lifestyle goals? What are their hobbies, their problems that your PT service can address? So to help you do this, you're going to get this sent to you, right? This will be in your membership site straight after the class. And it's a homework exercises that you can start on talking to patients through. Sandra, you will love this. This is Sandra, if I may, let me help you understand why. I put it to you that you wouldn't have you wouldn't have a problem talking about emotional things to friends and family, right? No human being, or a few do, but not many, right? What the problem is that most PTs have, and this is not just a PT thing. I've got friends who are accountants, who are lawyers, obviously doctors, and so on and so forth. When you go through those types of programs for 5 years at school, you are basically encouraged to forget all about anything to do with emotion, because the job relies upon you being logic, i.e. a lawyer needs to stay logical, can't get emotional. A doctor needs to stay logical and can't really let his emotions get in the way of the advice he's going to give. A PT is exactly the same. You are encouraged. It's a research first based model of this is the data tells you to do this. And so you get, and is why you see so many PTs struggle to talk emotionally with patients, and their communication is quite literally dreadful with patients because they're speaking logically. The problem is, and this is where the rubber meets the road, you have a very logical therapist trying to talk to an emotional patient, and boom, it just doesn't work. It's like they're pushing each other away. Like, it's just a positive and a negative. It's like they're just literally forcing each other away. And that's one of the biggest problems that we've as a profession. We have very logical PTs speaking logic, which in a logical world sounds logical. That should work. But the problem is we live in an emotional world where we speak emotionally, we buy emotionally, and we make decisions emotionally. And nobody believes me on it, one of the reasons that so many PTs struggle to run businesses is they speak PT, they speak logic. What we are going to encourage you to do is to understand the emotional concept of the patient's problems, the deeper fears, and communicate that way, whether it's with marketing messages or whether it's on the phone with your patients. And like I said at the start of this program today, for many of you, that will be the spark. Many of you have saw the conversations with past Accelerator students in my Facebook group, when they've said so many good things about it. When I've got face-to-face with many people who took Accelerator, this was the torch. This was the thing that lit the fuse, if you like. That they understood really where they were going wrong with their logical speak and switched to an emotional, more understanding conversation in their marketing, in their emails, and in their phone calls. And that really, before we'd even got to Facebook or Google or websites, was actually the difference that made the difference. So step one, we're going to create what we call an avatar, right? For true, full context, I spoke about Mary in the book. There she is. She's a real lady. She's a lady who came to my clinic now some 6 or 7 years ago, with 2 children in their 20s at the time, 3 grandchildren, loves to work part-time. Loves Pilates and socializing with friends. Husband has a good job, 75 grand or more, so there's probably 100 grand in the household income, if you like. Not that that's the be all and end all. Not that that's the be all and end all, because it really isn't. It's advantageous, but only if you have a marketing system that provides information. Rich people are rich because they put time in the way of making decisions. I'll say this again. The rich are rich, and there's lessons for you here as you want to grow a successful business. The rich are rich because, by and large, they put time in the way of their decisions, and they'll, in that time, request information on that decision. And because they request information on said decision, they are more likely to get it right. Said very, very differently. Most people are broke, not because they don't earn money or don't have enough money in their hands. It's because they make stupid decisions on what to spend it on. That's why people are broke. Nobody else's fault but ours. I've got friends who earn significantly less than some other friends, and the guys or the ladies who earn significantly less have significantly more money in most times. It is an absolute fallacy to think that because you earn more money, you will have more money. The reality is you just spend more money, and because you think you earn more money, you spend it more, and this is the point, haphazardly. Oh, I can afford it. The way I run this business is like with an iron fist. This is a very successful business, but the more money that it makes, the more brutal I get about inspecting where every penny goes, because I'm so frightened of the thing that I know will implode it, which is being drunk on success and buying pens off Amazon for fucking $7 more than we could have got cheaper ones from, just because we've got money in the bank. That ultimately is the type of mindset that I know separates very successful businesses from ones that in the end struggle. So we're not just chasing people with more money, is the point I'm trying to raise. What we're going to do is build a system and offer information to people who may have more money. Because if they have the disposable income, then yeah, it makes sense that they can spend it with you. But ultimately, they'll only do that if they believe that you offer the best solution and the best value for their money. Mustafa, the middle class are not necessarily best. There's no right or wrong in any of this. What there is, I don't see even people, right, with no money. The reason they've got no money is because they spend the bloody thing. There's an argument to say, market to people who can't stop spending. You're just going to get in the way of it. The real flow of money must be understood by business owners. That it will take longer for rich people to spend money with you. The people sometimes with less money spend it with you faster. There's such a thing called credit cards that people seem to like using these days. Serious. And I'm not getting involved in the ethics of this. I'm just having a conversation with you about the facts of how money is spent. Most of the money in society is actually spent by the people who have or earn less. Just a thought. Start with a name. Get as specific as you can with identifying the following: male or female, age, marital status, children, family goals, household income, and so on. Even their occupation, we would like to know. Think about where does he or she spend time. And why that's relevant is because my perfect patient's female. Facebook lets me run ads to females only. So I'm getting more targeted. And it means I can write things in my ad that talks to females. I can mention, are you a lady? Rather than, are you suffering with back pain? If I can say, are you a lady worried about not being able to go for a walk, or worried about this back pain not evolving or not improving, then my ad is going to be significantly more specific and more impactful. So what do they like to do? CrossFit, Pilates, walking, yoga? What's their biggest stressor? What's their biggest fear? How do they spend their free time? Do they like to travel? Do they like to go on cruises? Do they like to play golf? Do they like to go away for the weekend? Do they like to go walking in the woods, or over to the lakes, or whatever it will be? No Orange Theory. They'll maybe like to spend their time in Orange Theory. What's their personal goals? Lifestyle goals. All of this makes up your absolute perfect patient. So get so descriptive that you can imagine this person in real life having a conversation with you. You're going to have to get to know this person inside and out so that you can fully understand his or her wants and needs from your service. That's the key point. So Sandra says, it definitely is easier when the patient is in front of you. It is. It is. But the magic needs to happen to get them in front of you. That's why we're here. Think about it. It's the classic case of, when patients find out about me, we can easily get them in. The problem is when. So this exercise is vital for you to truly understand. So once we know all of this, we can put words in order to motivate them to respond. That's called marketing. So these are the exercises for you to do this week. You're going to step a little deeper into the mind of your patient. You're going to write a story as if you were them. So Sandra and everybody else who thinks I'm struggling, literally in the workbooks, I go through a step-by-step exercise with you for you to craft a story that starts to help you get inside the mind of your patient. You've got to start to understand and almost preempt what they're going to say. You in the end, if you do this right, you get to the point of being able to understand what somebody is thinking and their objections are before they've even said it to you. Think about the questions and how your perfect patient would answer them. You can continue the exercise on your own later tonight. So the workbook is in the membership site that you'll get in around about an hour or so. Go right through it. So Taruna, is it a good idea to pick one from your existing ones? Absolutely. Let's not make this up. Ideally, what we want to do is find somebody who is already spending money with you that is a pleasure to work with. Who spends the most money with you the easiest? It exists. Even if you've only got 10 patients, one of them is the easiest to work with right now. If you've got 100 patients, there will be a commonality of a lady who lives in a certain zip code or a guy who lives in a certain part of town with a certain problem that wants to achieve a certain thing. Find out who they are. You may need to look through the database. You may need to start putting names on a whiteboard and just come up with the top 10 or 12 names that first spring to mind, where if I just said to you, so we've got people in our office we would talk to, like Mary would be one, Les and Chrissy would be another, Sanjay, Alan, Pat and Christine, like patients who have been to our office for 10, 12 years now. And if I sat there and went, God, if I could just get more of Sanjay, like if I could get more Sanjays to come through the door, if I could just get more Les and Christines to come through the door, if I could just get more Allens to come in, if I could just get more Pat and Richie's to come through the door, like this business would be great if we could just get another 100 Pat and Richies. So in the end, you're like, all right, well, let's work out what Pat and Richie want. Well, they wanted this thing. Let's work out how old they are. Well, at this age. Let's work out where they live. Let's work out what their fees were before they came. And the actual people I'm speaking about there, Pat and Richie, when I first started going through this, they're on one of my videos from a testimonial. And I said, oh, what held you back from coming to see me? And Pat jumped in straight away and she said, well, I knew I needed to come. She said, I waited 2 years. She said, I was just fearful of coming. And I said, why? Like, why were you fearful of coming? She said, well, because the last place I went to, I asked them not to do a certain technique. This is a true story, by the way. She said, I asked them not to do a certain technique. I think she'd been to some chiropractor or PT somewhere that had done some manipulation on her neck. She said, I asked them not to do it, and they still did it. She said, since then, I've lost all trust in people like you. And then she went, oh, am I not supposed to say that? I said, no, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. And I said, now, how do you feel since you have come to see me? She said, well, yeah, I trust you implicitly. And I've been to see you now for like a year, and everything that I've said to you, you've listened to me and you've actually done what I asked, and, blah, blah, blah. So when I started to understand this, I'm like, oh, there's actually a deeper reason that somebody wouldn't come and see me. That's the internal fear. So when I understand that in my marketing and even in my conversations with patients, from then on, I'd start to say things like, hey, listen, I understand that you might not want to come and see me because of a bad experience that you've had in the past. It's possible that you went to see a medical practitioner who you assumed wouldn't do something, or you asked not to do something and they did it anyway. I just want to let you know I understand that. And I hear that all the time, but it will not happen on my watch. the simplicity, right? The simplicity of what I've just explained to you there, if you can get that into your conversations, into your marketing, you will win big. And the problem is, what I've just said to you rolled off my tongue so eloquently in a beautiful British accent that you think that it's just so simple and cannot ever possibly make a difference to my marketing or the ability for somebody with no money to spend money with me. You're thinking, and I'm not going to let you believe after 7 weeks that all of your problems with patients not coming to see you are because of money. They are so deep rooted. You must spend time understanding what they are and then reverse it. That once they tell you what these problems are and you're starting to understand them better, you communicate about them. You have the confidence to say, I understand this. I get it. I realize why people do not come to CBT. I understand what the deep-rooted fears is of a 65-year-old lady with 15-year history of back pain. I'm not going to tell you, Mrs. Smith, that I promise to solve your problem because I appreciate that you've probably already been to see 6 different practitioners who've given you that same bullshit. I'm not going to do that. But what I might do, because I understand your predicament, and I understand that you've lived with this for 15 years now, and I understand you've spent $5,000 with other PTs. Here's what I propose we do, Mrs. Smith. We work on achieving even a 10 or 20, possibly even 25% improvement in your living enjoyment. How does that sound to you? I'll tell you what it sounds like, Paul. It sounds like you are the first person in the history of this back problem to actually speak to me in a way that I'm dreaming about being spoken to. And for that, you can have my business. And for that, you can have my trust. That is how you need and must communicate with patients if you want to win in this game of business. It starts by understanding where they are. It's actually so fucking easy, it's beyond belief. We don't have to sell PT. We don't have to sell ourselves. We have to understand them. Spend 10% of the time that we've spent with our head up our asses reading textbooks and actually spend that time understanding the actual person who'll pay the damn bill, and we might have a better business, a better profession, and a few more healthier people to boot. Just a thought. So I'm also going to give you this empathy map. It's somebody else's point of view. What do they see? What do they say? What do they think? What do they feel? And what do they hear? Heaven forbid we actually consider all of these things. Somebody else's point of view. Who knew in 2019 we'd have to even consider somebody else's point of view? This is where you're going to win big. When you truly understand and you go beyond the patient's demographic, their characteristics, and develop a better understanding of their environment, their behavior, their concerns, their aspirations, you'll become a magnet to people wanting to do business with you. The goal is to gain an even deeper level of understanding of your patient within a given context, such as a likely buying decision about a PT. So, to have some fun, right? When I do the podcasts and when I do my books and when I do my whatever I do, webinars, how many of you really think when you listen to my podcast, right? You're not going, oh, that's a great phrase or that's a great thing. I wonder how many of you think this guy seems to get me. This guy seems to speak about some of the challenges that I've got running through my head right now. This guy just seems to understand what I'm living with as a business owner. This guy just seems to be able to break through some of the shit that I'm living with in my head. This guy just seems to be able to give me a little bit of permission to act and live in the way that I would like to live. For nearly everybody I speak to who ends up becoming part of Planet Paul and in this world, that's what they tell me. They don't come and say, at episode 27, 22 minutes in, you said this thing about Facebook that like really changed my life. But what they'll say is, at episode 18, 23 minutes and 14 seconds, you spoke about this thing that I'd been thinking for a few years about, this whole concept of time management, or just understanding myself better, or just not listening to other people give me like shitty advice and me having to take it. It's for that reason that in the end, the majority of the people who do business with me actually do business with me, because we've spoken to you at this level. We factored in environmental, behavioral, aspirations. You want to achieve this? That's how you're going to have to do it. You cannot listen to other people. You cannot get sucked into their level of thinking. You have to be the person that you know you can be. We're speaking to you at a deeper level of understanding through the medium of a podcast, through the medium of a book with 65,000 words, that causes more people to feel as though we get you. Same in the physio business, where it all started. So that's where it looks like. It's an empathy map, and you're going to be able to fill it out. What does your patient see? What does their world look like? Who surrounds them? What type of other offers are she exposed to on a daily basis? What's the hospital systems advertising? What are the drug companies doing? Oh my word, if you're in Florida, oh, never been easier to create an enemy. If you're in Florida, you have one enemy, fucking pharmaceutical companies. Are you fed up to the back teeth of going to bed at night watching Jimmy Carson and whatever else, and some fucking advert coming on talking to you about plowing your stomach with more pills? Yes, because I fucking am, and I'm only 38. I can't imagine what they must feel like if they're 60 and 70. Like, holy shit. Like, that's the type of marketing. In fact, really, that's my type of marketing in my clinic, that we talk to them about those types of fears and doubts and frustrations. What problems do they encounter when looking for a solution to their back problem, to the relying upon pills, to the possible surgery? One of, which is little understood, one of the problems is actually too many options. Too many options, and therefore they don't know which one to choose. Or what often happens, they start to dabble, right? Understand this is going to help your confidence. When patients have too many choices, they dabble with one. When they dabble, that's when you get there. I'll come along for one session, or I'll just have a few and I'll see how it goes. Or I don't want to commit to a plan of care, because they've got so many options. They're not sure if actually the one that they've chose is the right one. Contrast that with somebody who knows it's physical therapy, who's experienced it in the past, knows exactly what they want. Bang. Those people are all in. So what does she hear? Whatever her friends say, she wants PT, but her best friend's telling her to go to chiropractic, or her husband or wife is telling her to do something completely different. Just take YouTube, exercises off YouTube. Who really influences the decisions? What's going on at home? All must be factored in. Our colleagues talking to her about alternatives or previous bad experiences. What does she think and feel? What is she thinking that she might not say publicly? What's the real reason for wanting to get some help? My mother's not going to talk about losing independence. She's not going to publicly, 58, she's not going to start saying that she thinks as though she might lose her independence if she doesn't sort her hip pain out. But I know full well that's what she thinks. She's not going to speak it to me. She's not going to speak it to her friends. But I know full well she thinks about it. Why wouldn't she? She's just spent the last 10 years of her life being the only reason that my grandmother could get to the shops or go to church on a weekend. My grandmother lost her independence. It's staring at my mother every single day. And the minute that knee, hip, back problems start to strike that don't go away over a significant period of time, which is most patients, they start to worry about losing independence. It is the biggest driver, bar none. If you take nothing else from me, understand this. In any marketing that you do, the minute you mention anything to do with independence and losing it to the right audience, your phone will ring off the hook. More than any advertisement for shoulder problems, tight shoulders, shoulder tears, shoulder pain, nothing beats an ad that talks about the possibility that somebody is worried about losing their independence. And it's not fear tactics either, by the way, because it's just a fact that people worry about that thing at a certain age when they've had pain for a certain period of time. So to make this granular, if I run an ad that says, have you got back pain and are you worried about your ability to walk or continue to walk, right? I'm just asking a question. I'll get 5 times more people calling than if I say, have you got neck pain and is it painful? For this reason, that most people will just go to bed and it's painful and it's achy and it's not nice and it's like, oh, something I must do. But with the idea of losing independence, people call in their droves. You've got to start to understand all of this. When you run your workshops, when you run your ads, you run a back pain workshop in the middle of October or the middle of January, February, where it's cold, dark, and damp and people are stiff, you'll fill it up. You run a neck pain workshop in the middle of August when life's good for most people and the sun's shining, it's a damned inconvenience at that point. All of this, it must be understood, must be factored in as you consider marketing. So try to describe their health dreams and aspirations. Do they want a painkiller-free lifestyle? Do they want independence? Do they want longevity? Avoid surgery? Do they want to keep mobile and flexible? What does she say and do? What is her attitude towards health versus money? Do they actually want to part with their money? Willing and able? Big one. Everybody understand that, what that means? I might be able to pay your fees, but am I willing? Very little even considered in any form of business. That I might have $1 million in the bank, but if I don't value my health, I ain't giving you two of it. I'm giving you $2,000, and you're going to be sat there scratching your head going, but this guy's rich. This guy's got a helicopter. Don't matter. He doesn't value his health. He ain't going to give you $2,000. He's going to spend it on takeaways and Netflix. It isn't just about how much money they've got. It's about their attitude towards their health and willingness to spend what money they've got on their health. You'll see scenarios regularly, now I've pointed it out, where what might appear to be people who earn and have significantly less money continue to spend money with you because they value their health, versus a guy or a girl who has significantly more money who won't spend anything more than the absolute necessary simply because they don't value their health. You've got to find the ones who value their health more than have the money to pay for it. I don't know about you, but I've noticed a wonderful thing that happens in society. Most people don't let a small thing like not having money get in the way of actually buying what they want. Most people don't let not having the money get in the way of buying it. They'll do something. They'll figure it out. If they really want it, invariably they go get it somehow. How do they feel? Resentment towards their copay, their deductibles, their monthly fees. In Britain, a resentment towards the fact that they've paid taxes and they should be getting good physical therapy free, and now they're having to pay for it at my clinic. Resentment can get in the way. You've got to understand that so you can communicate. I appreciate that you can get it for free, Mrs. Smith, and I appreciate that you might be a little pissed right now that you're even going to have to contemplate paying my fees for private physical therapy when you expected to be able to get it for free. The very fact that I spoke about it like that to the patient increases the likelihood that they'll actually buy from me, because they buy from people who get them. They don't buy logically. They buy from people who appear to get them. What's her real pain? Physical or mental? Is there copay pain? What obstacles stand between her and what she wants or needs to achieve? Skepticism? I'm skeptical about what you guys do. Is it really cost? I've got a cash flow issue. Copay? I'm fed up to the back teeth. I'm worried that you're going to give me a bill, and then, i.e. what happened to me recently with the fucking dentist around the corner, paid my $240 as I left, boom. Oh, 3 weeks later, yours another 44. Go fuck you. Like literally, I rang them up and told them to go fuck themselves, right? If that's the typical experience that the typical US consumer is going through in healthcare, no wonder they fucking resent the hell and are fearful and worried, because they assume that you're going to do exactly the same as the last crappy provider did, which promised them one thing and then sell them a fucking bill for something else. So common, it's beyond belief. The problem is they're bringing that skepticism and resentment to your conversation. You must understand it. It's another force getting in the way of them doing business with you. Doctor, I can't get in to see my doctor. Go and see a doctor. Fuck, right? In Britain, if somebody comes to us with health insurance in Britain, it's an absolute pain in the ass because it'll take them fucking 4 weeks to get in to see their doctor, to get a referral, to write the fucking signature that they'll get charged $100 for equivalent before the whole thing starts up again. Absolute pain in the ass. Not that much to do with money. It's that they can't be asked with the doctor referral hassles. All of this is getting in the way. What risks might she fear taking? Losing money? Looking and feeling silly if it goes wrong? Wasting time? I put it to you that most people's real fear is actually wasting their time with you, not their money. That they'll have to commit time, and time is the most valuable asset on the planet, the only thing that's non-replenishable. Most people are worried about losing the 20 hours over the next 4 weeks that it will cost them to come and see you than it is the money. So what does she stand to gain? What does she truly want or need to achieve? How would she measure the success of your treatment? I give you a clue. It won't be with a goniometer. It will be able to do something. Play with grandkids, in the gym, times, reps, so on and so forth. Back on the golf course, hitting the ball further for longer. Think of some things that you might be currently using to try to help achieve those goals. Things like pills, doctor, chiropractic, exercises, YouTube. By the way, there possibly is chiropractors on here. They're just thinking about PT. They're doing PT instead of chiro and so on. So the empathy map might look like this. I'm going to encourage you to print it out as big as possible and just start sticking things on. If you've got team, do it with them. They'll love it. It's a great way to engage your team, great way to get your people on board with what you're trying to do and let them come to you with some solutions and help them understand all of this. Because for many of them, how they speak to their patients is ultimately costing you a lot of money or making you a lot, one of the two, but you're in control of it if you get them on board. I read all of this in a book called Game Storming. If you want to get it, it's a good book. Might be worth you reading on the concept of the empathy map. So Mary's biggest problems after I did this, here's what we realized. She has chronic low back pain. So here's how we concluded Mary's issues, right? And we pulled all this together from that exercise. She has chronic low back pain. She knows it's getting worse, but she's confused. The doctor said just rest and pills and blamed her age. Mary, it's your age. You're over 50 now. This is what happens to 50-year-olds. Her friends are saying, go see a chiropractor. The hospital, come and get physical therapy in the hospital. Big hospital systems, insurance-based in where we live. Come and get all over the TV right now. Big Booper, Cigna type stuff. Come and get physical therapy. Now the husband, he didn't want to spend any money. He just thinks it'll go away and get some Voltarol and just do what he did and just man up and rest it and it'll be fine. So because she's confused, she procrastinates and doesn't really want the responsibility of making a decision in case she gets it wrong. She told us that. I delayed coming to see you, by and large, just in case I got it wrong. Yet, she continues to worry about losing out on family time and missing Pilates. She doesn't like making it through each day, taking pills. So dissonance builds in your brain. When you can't make a decision and your head starts to hurt, that's called dissonance. Making it less likely that you'll feel confident about making the right decision, therefore more stress, leading to potential depression and anxiety. This is a self-fueling cycle of frustration that begins. She'll wait even longer and longer and longer. And when you understand this and you map this out for your patient, it's why they do wait 6, 9, 12 months. You know, when you just can't put your finger on it. You're like, why have you waited 12 months with this problem? It used to happen all the time to a patient. I'd be like, what? You've 18 months? Why? I couldn't get it. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it back then. Now I completely get it. Empathize with them till the cows come home. I get it. Beyond belief, get it. Because this is what are the facts of their life. In some way, shape, or form, this is going on to your patients. They don't just roll up at the door. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. My point to you all is the more that you understand the journey and the story of how they eventually make their way to you, the more that you can help them. The more you can help them at the point of the telephone consultation, the free discovery visits, the more that we can help them in the evaluations, the more that we can take what they are telling us and putting it into your marketing to tell a story. Because what, after all, is marketing? It's just storytelling. That's it. It's just storytelling. We're just being able to explain, talk to our potential customers about something that they're living with. And the more that we can do it in a way that they can reciprocate and the way that they can find themselves in that story, then the more likely they are to want to hire you, whatever you do. The key there is Mary's frustration begins maybe over 3, 6, 9, 12 months period. What if, let me back up, I'll reverse this on you all, okay? Right now, every one of you, I included, has a problem in our life, right? Whatever, it could be big, it could be small. But you have a problem that you've so far been unable to solve. And in the end, what we start to do is we just magically wish somebody would drop something in our lap, right? Some information, some solution, some testimonial, some way of us just deciding that that's the decision we need to make. Ultimately, marketing is that thing. The information that we're going to give to our patients is ultimately that solution that will drop into their lap to help them make that decision. Right now, the solution isn't physical therapy. We're going to give free information to help people make decisions and gain confidence and trust in herself and in PT so that she can see that it is actually the solution that she needs. Now, let me take this all the way back to the start of this program. It's exactly what I said to you. Ultimately, I'm very confident in myself. I'm very confident in my ability to help everyone on here. But for this program to come together and for it to sell out for the 10th time on the trot, what needed to happen was for you to have the confidence in yourself about me and my solution. That's what missing in nearly every physical therapy business struggling to grow is the thing that helps the person that they want to do business with get confident in themselves about the thing that they need to buy, which in this case, it's a 55-year-old lady who hasn't got the confidence in herself to buy physical therapy from the person who is confident about giving them the solution. So we've got to fix it over here. And always and forever, it's done through information. So once you understand the predicament that they're in, the main focus of marketing becomes to help them make a decision, not advertise PT. Please, everybody write that down. From a strategic level, everything that we're going to do is not advertise physical therapy. We're going to help them make decisions. We might give them what I would like to call a little win. Some advice that'll make even just a 10% difference so that we can build some confidence and build some trust in themselves and their ability to make a decision on you. If we can't get them to feel good about themselves, trust themselves, and have confidence in themselves about you, nothing will happen. You will always hear, I can't afford it. It's a time thing. It's a money thing, yada, yada. You'll always hear it, and it's not the truth. It's just that they don't know how to communicate the fact that they don't feel confident in it. We'll go tonight. Me and my family are off to Super Target. Most joyous experience of my life, shopping in Super Target. And we'll spend some money tonight on Halloween shit for the house, right? I'm anticipating my credit card getting whacked tonight, right? When we go to Super Target. Because we're certain in the outcome that if we don't buy it, the kids will kick off, right? But if we do buy it, the house is going to look pretty cool and the kids will be happy. I'm very confident in the outcome. Therefore, the actual money conversation is less likely to be a problem at the checkout, even though it may go over what my budget is. Well, any trip to Super Target. If you've ever been to Super Target, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not possible to come out of that place and actually stick to your budget. But tonight, I'm anticipating that we go severely over the budget. But we'll probably pass it because we're certain in the outcome. Happy smiley faces and the kids. We know what we're going to get. The problem with physical therapy, we don't know what we're going to get. I can see my house and what it's starting to look like when we have lanterns and skeletons and fucking RIP coffins and all this shit that's going to be all over my house in the next 24 to 48 hours. I know what it's going to look like. And I also know how happy my kids are going to be while we're putting it all up together. That's ultimately what I'm buying, which is why tonight I may go and drop more than I was anticipating. I'm also emotional about it because it's for my kids and it's experience and it's all sorts of things and pictures and selfies and shit that I'm going to be buying because of it. That's not what you get with physical therapy. You've got to understand that. It's why the same person will tell you that they've got no money, will go to Super Target and spend $500 on fucking skeletons and lanterns. Crazy. Should you tell people in your talk that you absolutely, Gerald, absolutely do you tell them that you are empowering them? What makes you uniquely different, Gerald, is just that. Qualifications don't make you different because somebody in your town's got them. A D before your name does not make you different because there's fucking 500 with a D before their name. Having a certificate in dry needling does not make you different because 26 other fucking people were on the conference at the same time. You're not different. What makes you different is the strategic approach to business, which from now on is about helping somebody understand that you understand that booking or buying physical therapy is a risky business with hard-earned money and time on the line. I understand that you might not want to go ahead right now, Mrs. Smith. I get that you might want a discovery visit, to come for a workshop, that you might want to read some information packed fast, take my free reports, digest it, and then we have a conversation in 3 or 4 days. I would like to propose that we slow this relationship down, Mrs. Smith, because after all, this is a sizable commitment, and I appreciate deeply you even considering spending $2,000 with me. I'm telling you now, I don't hear many PT clinics around the world speaking to patients like that. But I'm absolutely telling you, every one of you, the fastest path to making a massive impact in however that plays out for you is when you start to speak to patients like that. I get this. I understand your predicament. We will slow this down. Absolutely. What makes us different? Well, I tell you now, when you call my clinic, let's just make sure we're a good fit. You call my clinic up, Vicky would say, hey, absolutely, yeah, I can book an appointment. Just before we do you mind me finding out actually what's wrong with you? Because I actually don't want to book this appointment if it's nothing that we can do to help you. I.e., I don't want to take your money if I'm not the right place. Contrasting with 99.9% of clinics. Hello, can I have an appointment? Of course. Can you come down today, 2:30? We've got a gap. Sound familiar? That's different. Before I take your time and money, Mr. Smith, do you want to just tell me a little bit about what's going on? We can take 15 to 20 minutes right now on the phone together to find out what is troubling you right now, and I'll tell you at the end of that whether or not you are actually coming to the right place. If you're not, I'll give you the name of somebody, a number of somebody who can. How does that sound? It sounds like this is different than any other healthcare professional I've ever called, who seems to just want to book me in as fast as possible. Gerald, see the difference? See the difference, Gerald? This is different. Qualifications are not different. The way you treat me, the way you make me feel about doing business with you is different. So, 4 questions, then we're going to have a break. 4 questions for you to answer. What's the end result that your ideal patient wants to achieve? What do they need to do to get this end result? I call you, get a diagnosis, start exercises, massage, whatever. What's the biggest fear that they have that's preventing them from getting to that end result? Losing money, losing time, looking silly if the husband said chiropractic and they chose PT and it didn't work. These things are getting in the way. What can you give them as information that will move them closer to that end result? That's really what we're about. That's what this whole thing for the first 2 weeks is about. Education through marketing. It can act as a bridge from their current fear and skepticism all the way to your physical therapy patient. So now that we know who she is and what your ideal patient wants to achieve, We can get on with creating information packs, if you like, information kits that we can give to people to help them bridge that gap. It's called education-based marketing. So this is the type of thing that I would offer. An example of a report that might say the 14 best kept secrets for eliminating back pain, staying pain-free, and avoiding spinal surgery. And we can write whatever you want about what you think needs to happen. It doesn't have to be this exercise or that exercise. It's just the 10 or 12 things that you're 14 in this case, that if they do all of these things, your services included, they've got a very good shot of eliminating back pain. That's it. Enlighten them. How do you feel when you read the books or any reports or podcasts? You feel as though you learned something, you enlighten somebody. That's what it's about. So your homework from this section is to go through the perfect patient section and complete the workbook. Define your patient in one paragraph and post it into the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, Lisa, could you just, or Barry, could you put the Facebook group link into the chat for me for everybody to join? A lot of interaction goes on in there throughout the week, and if you're very clever, I would look inside the files section of that Facebook group. You may or may not just find about, I don't know, $500,000 worth of ads and hiring campaigns and stuff that people have shared for the last 5 years. Just a hint. To get your money's worth on the program, you may just need to go to the files section of the Facebook group where hundreds and hundreds of ads and critiques and various different things have been shared over the last 5 years that we've been doing this. Did everybody get the subtle hint that there may just be things in there that people just like you have been sharing that they're currently using to get a lot of new patients? Hint, hint. Check it out. So share it in the Facebook group for us. Right, let's have a little break there and we'll do part 2 in a mojo. Stop. Let me come back on. There we go. All right.